Hi everyone, and welcome to today's card creation where I'm showcasing using your Blackjack Catherine Pooler ink with an array of ink blended panels to create some depth. I have used a round mini ink blend tool and a watercolor cardstock, which is cotton, from Uniquely Creative, and this is quite a toothy watercolor cardstock. I've used for the first ink blended panel Mint to Be and Mardi Gras. And of course the blackjack is for every panel that's been added, and you can see the difference it makes. I've used a light, this is Stone Blue and Juniper Mist, so I've used a light and a darker ink. I've got Deck the Halls with Garden Party, and then I've got your Mint to Be, actually let me backtrack that, Hot Tub with Daydream. And then I've got Rose Petal with Sangria as the last panel. And you can see here how beautiful, just by adding the blackjack really adds depth all around the edges. So I've done, one more panel. I've got Cranberry Fizz and Samba. And Cranberry Fizz is actually a newer ink color to Catherine Pooler's collection. And so is Deck the Halls. So here's my ink blended panel, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I've actually created this panel. And with my next ink blended panel, I did leave a lighter shadow gap in the middle, and that way you can see how little or how much darker you can go with ink blending. So today's choice is Flirty Fuchsia and Queen for a Day. So this is just to purely show you my method in my ink blending. I start with the ink, the lightest ink first, and I work on layers. So the layers on watercolor cardstock work really well with blending. You can use other color cardstock, but I knew from experience this blended really well, and I wanted to achieve the result with a beautiful shadow type of depth to the color existing blended panel that I've created. So once I've done my Flirty Fuchsia, I will work with Queen for the Day. Now I have got mini ink blending tools. You can use a lot, there's a lot out in the market. You can use those makeup brush looking ones, and they add a beautiful softer texture. I also wanted to build the color, and the mini ink blending tool worked really wonderfully to get this result. So I work around all the panel, all around, bringing that color in. Now if you want to add extra of that color, of the lighter color, you can come in again after that. I didn't have to do that to most of my panel. I think maybe it's from the ink blending experience here that I've done all those other previous panels. I didn't really need to, and I wanted to leave more like a halo in the middle. So I just left it as it is. And then what I did do, that's my cat in the background saying hello with its jingle bells. I clean my panel first before I work with my blackjack ink, making sure it's touch dry. I've used a microfiber cloth. Then I will work the blackjack ink along. Now I start carefully and softly with smaller ink blending circles, motions, and then I work my way around. Now I tend to work my way around twice because I tend to build the blackjack. I am cautious first. Blackjack is quite a strong, dark grey tone ink, but it's darker than grey, but it's not midnight. So it adds a beautiful, beautiful blending grey to any panel. And there is my panel. Now I will actually not end up creating with this panel. I wanted to use the Rose Petal and Sangria panel that I've previously done. I don't know why, I just gravitated towards this color. Now I played with the new Catherine Pooler Alpine Village, and throughout this week I'm going to be showcasing over on my blog and my social media, Instagram and Facebook, other ink blended panel creations that I've used with the new collection and with these ink blended panels. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a rock and roll technique. I went a little bit heavy handed with the Sangria, and I probably could have chosen a more lighter of the ink, but Having said that, I stamped it and I kept it as is, and I was happy with the end result anyway. So really, because this is a foam, you want to tap probably a little bit more lighter than what I'd done, and because I picked up a lot of the sangria ink with the rock and roll panel, what I could have also done is used an ink topper to basically help with the blending, and you'll understand once I stamp what that means and the difference and the contrast you can really see between the light and dark. I would probably preferred it to be a little bit more blended, but I left it and that was it. I kept moving with my card creation. Now I heat emboss with chocolate pearl, and check it out, it will work beautifully with this colour and the metallic copper. Now they're the two embossing powders that I will heat set 2 more of the little houses from this stamp set, and I'm going to heat emboss it by using my Wow Ultra Slow Drying ink. I've pre-cut, as you can see, several of the dies first, and then I stamped and then heat embossed it. Now it's not probably my preferred method, and I would have been okay if I was stamped it. When I'm heat embossing, I would probably heat emboss first, then die cut. But I had all these ready, and I was able to still execute a heat embossed house with this. Now I've got heat setting 2, and I've got my scrap piece of paper. Now I use scrap piece of paper to funnel back in excess powder into the jars. And here is the chocolate pearl. And I will then also heat emboss the second house with metallic copper. I find those hues really worked well, the embossing powders, and they're all from Wow Embossing. And here's the metallic copper. I have skipped over the stamping part, and just then heat set it, and that works really well. So once I'm happy with the arrangements, I fiddle around a little bit, and I adhere the 2 houses towards the rear with liquid adhesive, and then also I use foam adhesive with the center, larger one. Before I adhere anything down, I heat emboss with bright white opaque in Wow Embossing powder in Superfine, because I'm going to heat set the sentiment across the bottom. And then I'm going to then adhere down my little houses. Here I am heat embossing. Make sure when you've ink blended that the ink is dry. That little excess part was my fingerprints. So it's worth prepping your cardstock. I didn't prep my cardstock in this case, but I was able to brush away any excess with just a paintbrush, like a really fine tip paintbrush. And now here comes the assembly part. It's really easy once all this came together. I've got Uniquely Creative square and strips adhesive. The reason why I'm using this is because it's easily accessible here in Australia. There's other brands as well. I'm sure you can grab the closest to you wherever you are. Then I'm going to mount this on you can see here that I actually add sticky notes to every ink blended panel that I've done. Purely this helps me when I'm writing up blog posts, doing my YouTube channel here and my tutorials, that I know what I'm using, and I am making sure I'm saying the right items that I've used in my card creation. So I've matted that on a card front panel, and then I'm just embellishing it with a Crater Lake with all the smaller sequins, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed today's card creations. Check back over on my blog and my Instagram for some more card inspiration with all the ink blended panels and new release from Catherine Pooler. So thanks for watching everyone. Take care.